Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on the program today, we're going to be having defensive backs and tight ends take the field at the NFL Scouting Combine. I'm going to give you my top guys that you need to just keep an eye out for during the drills today at the defensive back and the tight end position. And if you're like, Jeremy, what's the schedule? Like, how do we know when certain position groups are going? Well, I got it for you right here. Yesterday, we saw defensive linemen and linebackers on field workouts. Today, defensive backs and tight ends. Saturday, quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs. And then Sunday, offensive linemen. And I wanted to do today in specific because I think defensive back, tight end are two areas around the draft that Texans fans have been, kind of on either side of tight ends and defensive backs of one of the bigger, sneaky needs on the team. We all know offensive line is a big need. We all know the Texans need another receiver, but a lot of people with Nick Caley are saying, maybe a tight end. A lot of people with the depth that the Texans have in the secondary are like, they need to take a defensive back early on in the draft. I'm going to ask you this question to start off today's show, though. It's going to be the pinned comment, so the very top question on today's show, and I want you to give me your honest answer. Which position do you think the Texans will draft first in this year's draft? Do you think it'll be a tight end, or do you think it'll be a defensive back? Because a lot of people I see are mocking Texans tight ends in round 2, some even in round 1. I think they could take a defensive back early as well. Give me your thoughts down below in the comments section. Now, we're just going to run through. These are all the tight ends that are going to be at the Combine today, just so you can see just like all the names up on the board and just see everybody who's going to be in attendance at today's events. Obviously, a lot of names going to be, rolling out there. A lot of guys who you might not see get drafted. It's definitely going to be some guys who are, some undrafted free agents. But overall, here are all the names that you need to see at the NFL Combine at the tight end position. And like I said, with the new Texans offensive coordinator, Nick Caley, it's going to be a big emphasis on tight end because he was not shy about how much he loves tight ends. First up, a guy I have to talk about, Tyler Warren. He's not going to actually be out there during the drills. He's not going to be doing the drills. He got injured at the end of the Penn State season. Insanely versatile player. Gives me more athletic Kyle Juszczyk vibes. In my opinion, he's a top 10 talent in this draft. I think he goes top 15. I don't think he makes it to the Texans pick at 25, in my opinion. Not somebody who I'm going to be spending too much time on is Tyler Warren if I'm a Texans fan looking into his tape, because I think you're going to have to trade up if you want to get Tyler Warren. Next up, Colston Loveland from Michigan. This is the other, tight end that I think could go in round 1, and a lot of people have him, sneakily mocked to the Texans at 25. I think that's a little bit too rich for me. Amazing 2023-2024 season for Michigan when they made the national title game. Like most of Michigan on offense, had a down year this year. Has tremendous upside and can be an all-around tight end. I just don't see the need for the Texans to take Loveland at 25. Another name that is climbing up draft boards, Harold Fannin Jr., small school in Bowling Green, but had a ton of production. His tape against Penn State is fantastic. He showed out at the Senior Bowl and excellent at the tight end spot as a receiver, but gives me more of a tweener vibe of wide receiver, tight end combo. This next guy, Mason Taylor from LSU. Great production at LSU. He broke some records for tight end reception and reception yards. Athleticism doesn't necessarily jump off the charts, but, just a good skill guy. When you put on the tape, he's somebody who seems to be in the right place at the right time. He needs to improve a little bit as a blocker, but Mason Taylor, another name that has been impressing. Elijah Arroyo, I actually covered him in high school here in the DFW area. He's dealt with some knee injuries during his time at Miami. He's a willing blocker, and he's a dog. He has that dog mentality. Vertical down the field stretcher with deceptive speed. I like Elijah Arroyo if he falls to maybe the 3rd round. Depending on how some of those medicals go at the Combine, could see his value fluctuate in this draft. But Elijah Arroyo, another guy to keep an eye on at the Combine today. Now, I'm not sure how big of a need the Texans see tight end right now, right? It can't be that high, right? I mean, I don't think it's a round 1 need. I don't think unless Tyler Warren falls to you at 25, that I see the Texans taking a tight end in round 1. But a sneaky position that, the Texans are really good at is already cornerback. You have Kamari Lassiter and Stingley, but the depth is not there at all. So I really think I will be really keeping an eye out for a lot of these cornerbacks at the NFL Combine. There's a lot of them going to be rolling through on the screen right now. And I think, seeing how some of these guys run those 40 times, the shuttles, which we all saw Kamari Lassiter last season, did not have the best 40 time, but was arguably, in my opinion, the best rookie corner from this past season. I'm really excited to see how some of these guys show out. Now, the top 3 guys, I don't think you have a chance at. Will Johnson, Travis Hunter, and Jahdae Barron, I think they all go top 20, in my opinion. Barron especially is shooting up draft boards. Everything that I've heard from NFL prospects is that NFL scouting, prospect scouting guys, is that Barron is not a lock to go top 20, but is on that trajectory. Somebody who the Texans could look at in round 2, depending on how he shows out, is Revel Jr. here out of ECU. Big, long, has really good speed, really good ball skills. He tore his ACL in September, so the medicals are going to be really important for him, but this dude is an absolute baller. And if he was healthy this season for East Carolina, I think he could see himself being a round 1 guy, but because of the injury and coming off that injury this past season, maybe he slides into round 2 and the Texans get another dog in the secondary. Another round 2 guy that I would be really intrigued at the Texans looking at, Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky. Elite feel in zone coverage, great athlete for his size, but the size is a concern there in press coverage whenever he's on the line up against like big true X receivers. I don't know if that's where he does his best work. Another guy to keep an eye out, former teammate of CJ Stroud, Denzel Burke, a 4-year starter at Ohio State. He does not have the best ball skills and can get a little grabby deep down the field, but he's very strong at the line of scrimmage, good in run support, using his hands, and he has really good instincts in zone coverage. Another guy I'm going to be keeping an eye out for, Quincy Riley from Louisville. Undersized, but very athletic, especially in man coverage. He has a clear nose for the football. 15 career interceptions. Small, but a feisty corner there. Could be an interesting option as a slot nickel guy in, the mid rounds, maybe round 3, 4, 5 for the Houston Texans. Another later round guy that I'm going to be looking for is Noel Williams from UNLV. Then he transferred to Cal this past season and had an insane year. His ball skills, incredible. 7 interceptions, 16 pass breakups. People, they're going to question his speed, just like Kamari Lassiter did last year. His 40 time, I think, will be huge, but I think we also, especially with the cornerback position, we cannot just look at 40 time, especially for what the Texans like to do. We got to look at the short area quickness for these guys, the shuttle, the 3-cone. How do they perform in those type of situations? I think that is another big teller for what the Texans are going to be looking at the cornerback position. Now, I know I'm throwing a lot of names at you right now. I just kind of boom, 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 boom. But I want to hear from you because I know a lot of y'all look into the draft. A lot of y'all are looking at some of these prospects just as much as I am. Give me a late round guy that I need to look in more to. Maybe somebody I didn't mention at the tight end or the cornerback spot, or maybe somebody that I'm not going to mention here at the safety position. Let me know. A late round guy that I need to look into. I don't want the top guys. Don't give me somebody who's going to go in the first 3 rounds. Give me a day 3 guy that I need to watch more film on. And while you're down there, if you're looking for more Texans gear, I'm going to put this link in the comment section for you. It's chatsports.com/Texans hats. Our friends at Fanatics have every single lid that you need. If you're looking for a flat bill, if you're looking for a trucker hat, if you're looking for a dad hat, they have them all available. They even have the secondary logos available for you as well. One more time, go to chatsports.com/Texans hats. All of them are available. If you use that link, it's in the comment section description of today's video. That's how Fanatics knows that we sent you over there. So go check it out today, just in time for the summertime. All the Texans hats that you need. Now, let's go to the last position group that'll be on the field today. It's the safety room, and there's a lot of safeties in this year's draft as well. As you see going across your screen, I mean, there's a lot of options for the Texans to take, and I think that's a very good thing for the Texans because I think safety is a sneaky need for this team, and I could see the Texans in round 2, round 3, round 4 going safety in this year's draft. A couple names to keep an eye out for. If the Texans are going to go round 1, I think it'll more than likely be Malachi Starks from Georgia. Some say the top safety in the 2025 NFL draft, but we can maybe see that change here as the combine rolls on. A true do-it-all safety. He can cover and stop the run. Was part of that, Georgia defense that was really good over the past couple seasons. Tendency to get beat deep a little bit, so I want to see how he runs in the 40-yard dash and a couple of those other events at the combine. But definitely a name to keep an eye out for. Somebody who I mocked in the second, third round and might end up being a first rounder is on the rise as Nick Caserio. He models his game after Derwin James. He's a tackling machine, great in underneath routes, looks very quick on tape. The size and speed combination for this guy, Nick Caserio, is something special, and I think that's one of the contributing factors that's going to make him kind of push towards maybe being a first-round pick, but I think he is going to be a lock day 2 pick. I think he is going to be round 2 at the latest for Nick Caserio. Would be an interesting get for the Houston Texans. Maybe one of my favorite safety prospects during this year's draft, Andrew Mukuba from Texas. He has natural ball skills, great in run support despite his slender frame. He had great production in college. Was at Clemson, then went to the University of Texas where he balled out on the biggest stages. He's a gamer. We saw it during the college football playoff. He showed out and showed up during those games for the Texas Longhorns. 5 interceptions this past season, 6 pass breakups. He's a very interesting name that if he's there round 3, round 4, I will be running up to the podium if I'm the Houston Texans to get a guy like this in our secondary. Another really good name, Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. He's Notre Dame's first 2-time consensus All-American since 1993. He has average speed traits, but I think, there's the underwear Olympics is what the combine is called, right? For some of these things like 40 time and stuff like that. It's, rarely do you see the guy who has the very fastest 40 time at the combine be the very best player in the draft. And I think that'll be a case with Xavier Watts where he might not test as well, but he has 13 interceptions, and he balled out for Notre Dame. This dude is an absolute stud, and I don't care if he runs a 5.1 40 at the combine. This dude can ball. So regardless of what happens at the combine, I think Xavier Watts is somebody that you need to look out for. The Texans want to add better talent in the secondary. This dude is a smart gamer from Notre Dame. Speaking of smart, Sebastian Castro, highly intelligent in coverage, good in special teams, good in run support. He's a little bit older, already 25, and limited athletically. But if you're looking for a high IQ guy that can play in the kind of like the slot nickel role and can cover those underneath routes, he's really good in the box. Sebastian Castro could be a mid-round name for the Houston Texans. Another sneaky name, which I think some team is going to take a chance on this guy, and for good reason. Kevin Winston Jr. from Penn State. He was a top 50 player going into the season based on talent, but he had a torn ACL in week 2 that cost him his whole season for Penn State. If he tests well, I think his stock could rise a little bit. He was a team captain. He has NFL size, long arms, still a little bit raw, but somebody who maybe you get in like a 3rd, 4th, 5th round in this year's draft, but has that elite talent still, has that ability to be a top 50 talent in this year's draft, but obviously coming off injury, maybe he gets snagged up by a team that has a better fit and can show out like in a D'Amico Ryans defense. Another later round guy to look at, Billy Bowman Jr. out of the University of Oklahoma. Smart football player, tons of versatility. He moves with ease, really good speed, really good athleticism. He's a little bit undersized, isn't the best tackler, but another guy, if you're looking for somebody to add some depth in those mid-rounds and come in and compete, Billy Bowman Jr. could be that for you. 5'10", 200 pounds. Like I said, a little bit undersized, but I think he has pretty good ball skills there at the safety position. And somebody who actually was talking around the Houston Texans, was really praising this Texans secondary during the combine interviews, was Jalen Reed. He has a really high football IQ, really good at the pre-snap communication. He brings the boom as a tackler. He can be a little bit aggressive and take some risks in the secondary. But Jalen Reed is another interesting name that I think the Texans and Texans fans should keep an eye out for today during the combine drills. Like I said, I threw a lot of names at you. I just want everybody to take a deep dive and a deep look into some of these guys at the combine, because I think the Texans are going to add some more defense in the draft this season, and I think they're going to try to add to that secondary a little bit. So especially the corner room, the safety room, and especially with Nick Caley as the new OC, I had to throw in the tight ends who are going to be on the field today as well. Have fun watching the combine, and as a reminder, my DMs are always open. So if you want to talk about any of these late round prospects, talk about any of the guys that I talked about on today's show, you can always hit me up at Jeremy Chuggs on Twitter. My DMs are always open.